Discover the incredible life-changing love story that will touch your heart like never before. In the fading light of Maplewood, Sarah hurried through the rusting streets, her heart pounding with love and dread. Her 10-year-old son, Jake, cradled a paper airplane in his small hands, eyes filled with dreams that seemed too big for their town. "Mom, look," he shouted, launching the plane into the air. It soared, mimicking the hope that twinkled in his blue eyes. Sarah's heart ached if only his dreams could defy the confines of Maplewood, where the scent of spilled coffee and fried food in the diner mingled with the rust of the once great factory. Every day she woke up early, tired from late shifts at the grocery store. Still, she fought to provide Jake with a life filled with possibility. It was more than a job, it was a lifeline. Emblazoned with determination, she organized after-school programs at the community center, a sanctuary for kids, a place where laughter and learning intertwined like a comforting blanket. But as Sarah pinned up colorful drawings on the walls, teasing smiles from the children, her own heart held a heavy weight. You could see it when she furrowed her brow, or the way she bit her lip as she surveyed the empty seats at the fundraiser she needed to save the center. If only they understood, she thought. The town's whispers echoed in her mind, judgments born from old prejudices, where love and ambition didn't always mean acceptance. Amidst this struggle entered Tom, a local war veteran with haunted eyes that spoke of battles fought beyond the horizon. He walked into the community center one afternoon, searching for solace. It was there, watching Sarah, the way her hands danced while teaching the children, a seed of connection took root in his chest. Something about her energy was magnetic. A moment lingered between them, a glimmer of hope brimming just below the surface. As Sarah and Tom deepened their bond while fighting for the center, they faced the townsfolk as whispers like angry winds. The community was quick to judge, their scorn sharp as glass. But amidst the fear of rejection, something blossomed. They found strength in vulnerability and courage wrapped in compassion. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just when hope flickered brightly against the backdrop of struggle, catastrophe struck. Flames danced with voltage, consuming the community center in a fierce embrace. An unyielding chaos erupted in the streets as smoke choked the air. Sarah stood, paralyzed, watching the inferno swallow the light that her programs offered Jake and the other children of Maplewood. As the townspeople raced around, fear grasped at her chest like a vice. But in this swirling panic, some turned toward Tom and Sarah, seeing something more than judgment. They saw fighters. Stripped of their armor, everything became clearer. This town needed unity. As the flames roared and the tears fell, would they confront their biases or continue the cycle? Together, could Sarah and Tom rise from these ashes, or would Maplewood's shadows keep them apart? As they locked eyes amidst the chaos, the future felt more uncertain than ever. But perhaps together, they could light the way. The flames flickered like wild spirits under the night sky, illuminating the faces of the townspeople gathered around the raging inferno. Amidst the chaos, Sarah felt like she couldn't breathe. The community center, the heart of Maplewood, was vanishing into the glowing abyss. "Mom! Mom!" Jake's small voice pulled her back, grounding her with urgency. He tugged at her sleeve, his eyes wide with confusion and fear. "What is happening? Are we safe?" Sarah knelt, holding his face in her trembling hands. "We're okay, sweetheart. Just stay close to me." Her voice broke slightly, betraying the calm she desperately tried to convey. Tom appeared, his expression fierce yet determined, as he scanned the crowd for Sarah and Jake. He rushed over, a palpable energy radiated from him. "We need to get people out of here," he said, urgency cutting through the air. "Help me make sure everyone's Tom." Sarah interrupted, the weight of worry for the children they'd fought for settling on her shoulders. "The kids, we need to make sure they're safe." Without hesitating, Tom nodded. "Let us go." They worked together, gathering the children who were lingering and helping families find their loved ones. As they moved through the crowd, fear tangled with the heat, but Sarah felt a fierce resolve growing within her. Each child they pulled from the shadows ignited a spark of hope. Her heart raced, not merely from fear, but from the unexpected fire of command. She found herself directing the kids in a line, urging them to stay low to the ground, away from the smoke. Stay together, she called out, her voice rising above the cacophony. The children clung to each other, eyeing the flames that licked hungrily at the sky. Across the street the fire trucks arrived, sirens wailing, cutting through the chaos like a knife. Familiar faces filled the crowd, eyes wide with concern, some ready to help, others rooted in disbelief. "Sarah!" shouted Miss Henderson, a woman from the local bakery, fumbling through her phone. "What do we do?" "Take the kids to the park. It's safe there," Sarah yelled back, her heart heavy. The community center was lost, but they could save the children. Tom stayed beside her, their bodies moving in sync as they continued to usher the kids away from danger. But in the back of her mind, dread coiled around her thoughts. What will happen now? She wondered. Once they reached the park, the children were safe, but Sarah felt hollow. What could she possibly do without the center? She glanced at Tom, standing by her side, and the shared look between them spoke volumes. Together, he whispered. There it was again, that sense of connection coursing through them. They were both ignited by the same fervor, determined to reimagine Maplewood's future. As they caught their breath, gazing back at the flickering shadows of the community center, heartbreak intertwined with possibility. Maybe this can spark change, Sarah mused as the townsfolk began to gather, fear replaced by a growing sense of unity. If they could rally together here, perhaps they could rebuild. But just when the spirit of hope began to light within her, a voice pierced the gathering gloom. "What are we going to do?" It was Jake, tiny and small, looking up at her with innocent eyes filled with unfiltered worry. "Mom," he whispered, uncertainty lacing his tone. As he clutched his paper airplane, the weight of his dreams loomed larger than ever. As the night unfolded beneath the glowing embers of the past, questions hung heavy in the air. Could they unite to rebuild what had been lost? And more importantly, could they turn their grief into a flame that would ignite change in Maplewood? The crackling of embers filled the air as the townspeople formed a circle, a united front against the chaos of the night. Sarah took a deep breath, steadying herself against the rush of emotions swirling inside her. She knelt beside Jake, ruffling his hair playfully, trying to mask her own confusion. "Look at all these brave people, buddy. They're going to help us." Jake watched, his small hands still clutching the paper airplane, a symbol of innocence amidst destruction. "But Mom, the center was where we played and learned. How can we fix it?" His voice wavered, a tremor echoing the fear in her heart. "We'll find a way," Sarah promised, her voice filled with a newfound determination. "We're not alone in this." She glanced over the gathering crowd, seeing familiar faces merging into a tapestry of shared grief and resilience. Tom stepped up beside her, his eyes filled with resolve. "We need to think about what's next. This is our chance to build something better. A community that stands together." His words inspired murmurs. People nodded, exchanging small glances that felt electric with possibility. "Why don't we hold a meeting tomorrow?" Someone shouted from the crowd. "We can brainstorm how to rebuild." Voices started rising, fueled by the collective desire to restore what they had lost. "Yes," Tom exclaimed enthusiastically, igniting the spark further. "Let us come together at the park tomorrow morning. Everyone can share ideas on how we move forward." Excitement rippled across their faces, and for the first time since the fire erupted, Sarah felt a warmth spreading inside her. Hope began to rise, pushing aside the shadows of despair. As the crowd began to disperse, a reflective quiet fell over the park. Parents hugged their children tightly, while others murmured plans and ideas under their breath. In the midst of it all, Sarah felt Jake slip his hand into hers. "Mom," he said softly, "can we make it just like before?" She squeezed his tiny hand, the warmth of his presence grounding her. "It will be even better. Promise you, Jake." But a nagging thought reminded her of the enormity of their task. How can you build back something that felt irreplaceable? As if sensing her unease, Tom turned to Sarah, his expression serious yet comforting. "We can talk about what worked before, but we also need to listen to what didn't." His tone shifted then, revealing the weight of responsibility settling on them both. "Yes," she murmured, her heart heavy yet lighter underneath the growing hope. The next morning, the sun broke through the clouds, casting a warm glow over Maplewood. Sarah arrived at the park early, a notebook clutched in her hands, ready to write down every idea that came from the community. Slowly, families gathered, and the mood shifted between joy and solemnity as they remembered what had been lost as more people filed in. Sarah watched, the corners of her mouth curling into a hopeful smile. Perhaps this gathering could birth something vibrant, something the community truly needed. Just as Sarah opened her mouth to speak, a faint commotion erupted at the edge of the park. Heads turned, and a ripple of questions began to dart through the crowd. What's going on? Sarah felt her pulse quicken. Curiosity mixed with anxiety. She pushed through the crowd to get a better look, and her breath caught in her throat as she spotted a figure approaching, silhouetted against the morning light. It was the mayor, and behind him a line of officials. The tension in the air thickened as she realized that they were here to discuss funding. But could they be trusted? Could this be the lifeline Maplewood needed? Or was it merely another false promise? Sarah's heart raced as she pondered the implications. Would this be the breakthrough they had hoped for, or a new hurdle they'd have to jump? As the townsfolk waited with bated breath, she knew one thing for certain. There was no turning back now. Each choice they made could reshape their future. The mayor stepped forward, and his presence commanded attention. A hush fell over the crowd. Sarah could see the worry in the faces around her, a mixture of hope and skepticism. She felt it to a tight knot in her stomach. We gather here today, amidst the ashes, the mayor began, his voice steady yet somber. He paused, scanning the crowd, letting the weight of his words sink in. And I want to assure you, Maplewood will rise again. A few people clapped softly. Others shifted uneasily. Sarah held Jake closer, his little figure pressed against her side, seeking reassurance that she wasn't sure she could give. I know the fire devastated our beloved community center, the mayor continued. But together with our combined efforts, we can restore not just what was lost, but build something even greater. The crowd murmured, uncertain. As Sarah glanced around, she could see both enthusiasm and doubt reflected in the faces of her neighbors. Some looked on with curiosity, while others crossed their arms waiting for a catch. One man shouted, "Can we trust you? What's the plan? We need specifics." The mayor nodded, acknowledging the question. We are working on a detailed proposal. But before we get into the numbers, we want to hear from you. Your ideas matter. Tom stepped forward, a glimmer of courage sparking in his eyes. Then let us start now. We have so many plans. We can combine our visions into a blueprint for the future. The crowd began to respond enthusiastically, voices overlapping with excitement. Thoughts of community gardens, expanded playgrounds, shared art programs, possibilities poured forth. As ideas bounced around, Sarah began to feel the heat of hope reigniting. People were passionate, envisioning a vibrant center that would serve everyone. Days turned to weeks, and before she knew it, they had set up committees, brainstorming on everything from funding to design. Yet, in the midst of all this progress, Sarah couldn't shake a looming anxiety. What if they failed? What if, despite the passion and ideas, it wasn't enough? As if sensing her struggle, Jake tugged at her sleeve. "Mom, I think it's going to be okay," he said, his small voice steady and certain. She knelt to his level, brushing a strand of hair away from his forehead. Those trusting eyes held answers she often sought but rarely found herself. "You really think so?" Sarah whispered, a flicker of hope igniting within her. "Yeah, they're all working together. They'll all make it happen," he replied, beaming with a confidence that felt contagious. Jake's enthusiasm lingered with her as they continued to navigate this new chapter. Days began blending into nights, and the community discovered strength and unity they had never tapped into before. Yet success didn't come without its challenges. Just as the committees rallied and the plans took shape, the mayor's office sent an email that struck fear into the hearts of those who had been diligently working. Funding had been opened up for their project, but under strict regulations that felt suffocating. Rumors whispered through the community. Tension filled the air again. "We can't let them dictate how we rebuild what's ours," Tom shouted at the next meeting, echoing Sarah's silent worries. "I want to give my voice to this. We need to find a way to fight for our vision," she added, surprising herself with her resolve. A fire ignited in the crowd as they began to strategize. pooling resources and augmenting their plans. But would it truly be enough? Possibilities mixed with uncertainty, and with every decision, Sarah felt the lingering question. Was their dream worth the fight? With every voice raised, a sense of impending change loomed, but at what cost? As darkness descended, Sarah pondered the weight of their dreams against the realities they faced and wondered if they could stand strong against the looming opposition. What would happen when the dust settled, and the choice between compromise and integrity had to be made? The stakes were higher than ever, and not just for the community, but for her family. As uncertainty thickened, she sensed something deeper pulled at her heart. Could this triumph become a story of resilience, or would it unravel into discord? Her pulse quickened at the thought this was just the beginning. As the sun dipped below the horizon, washing the sky in hues of orange and pink, the tension in the air grew palpable. Sarah found herself standing before the group, heart racing, as hopeful voices buzzed around her. They were all waiting for direction both from each other and from her. "We need a plan," Tom said, stepping to the front, his voice a rallying cry. "Let us form a coalition to push back against these regulations. We're not just citizens. We're a community." "Right," someone echoed from the back. "A community that can't be ignored." Sarah could feel the warmth of excitement blooming in her chest. She could see the fire in their eyes, the determination knit into every voice. Yet a skeptical part of her worried. How would they handle the bureaucracy looming over them? How would she handle it? "Let us break into groups," Sarah suggested, trying to project confidence. "We can assign tasks. Figure out who speaks to the mayor's office, who gathers support from local businesses, who focuses on fundraising. We need a multi-pronged approach." As one committee formed, then another, their enthusiasm was contagious. But Sarah couldn't shake the fear gnawing at her. Deep in her heart, she wondered, what if their efforts were futile? What if it all came crashing down? Jake tugged on her sleeve again, as if sensing the conflict stirring inside her. "Mom, don't worry. You're doing the right thing. I can feel it," he said, his small face beaming with trust. His belief in her was like a lifeline. Sarah knelt down, their eyes level. "You really think we can do this?" she asked softly. "Yeah. Just look at everyone. They want this." "We can help them," Jake said, a spark igniting in his eyes. She smiled, allowing a moment of pure connection to envelop them. That innocence, that trust, reminded her of why she fought in the first place. Not just for a building, but for a place her son and his friends could find joy and refuge. The following days blurred into a whirlwind of meetings, strategies, and plans. The energy was electric. Every corner of Maplewood was buzzing with activity. They used social media, crafted signs, and reached deep into the town's soul to gather support. Each step felt monumental, though Sarah was constantly battling her fears. One afternoon, while sitting at the kitchen table working on flyers with Jake, a realization struck her. "You know, buddy," she said, glancing sideways at him, "it's pretty amazing how we came together. Right?" "Yup. It's like a superhero team," Jake exclaimed, his eyes sparkling with imagination. "Just like the Avengers." Sarah chuckled, her heart swelling with pride in him. They were not only a team. They were a family fighting for their community. That thought ignited a fresh wave of determination in her. But the crushing reality soon reappeared. Just as momentum built, the mayor's office announced an impending public hearing. The agenda would unveil all community proposals, a chance for them to finally present their ideas, but also a platform for opponents to shoot them down. "What if they don't like our ideas?" Sarah whispered to herself, dread settling like lead in her stomach. What if all their planning was for nothing? That night, she sat on the porch, allowing the cool evening air to wash over her. The flickering of fireflies reminded her of the community's flicker of hope. Would they make it through the darkness together? Then she heard a voice calling from the shadows. It was Tom, carrying a bunch of papers. "Sarah, you need to see this." He handed her the printouts, his eyes wide with urgency. "I found something. If we can rally everyone for at least 100 petitions by tomorrow evening's hearing, we can show them we have serious backing." Hope surged through her, and along with it came anxiety about whether they could reach that goal in such a short time. "Can we do it?" she asked, the question tremoring on her lips. "We have to. It's now or never," Tom replied with conviction as Sarah took a deep breath. Ready to dive into the challenge, she looked into the distance. The weight of their dream pressed down on her. But so did the courage of everyone else aligned with her. Would they rise together or face the storm alone? With a flick of determination, she took Tom's hand. Then let us get started. We have a fight to win. And just like that, Sarah felt the stakes rise even higher as the community rallied around them, pushing them toward a crucial moment that would determine their fate. The countdown began, and inside her, a voice whispered, was this what they really wanted? Or would the fight reveal deeper fears? As the sun began to rise on what could change everything, Sarah knew the real battle was just about to begin. Would they secure their dreams, or watch them slip away like dust in the wind? The morning light spilled into Sarah's kitchen, throwing shadows as she tapped at her phone. She was creating a simple social media post about their push for signatures. Jake bounced around the room, charged with energy, humming a tune. His carefree spirit ignited a spark in her, even as uncertainty loomed like storm clouds. "Mom, it's time to be a superhero," he exclaimed, throwing a cape that he crafted from a towel around his shoulders. He posed dramatically, a tiny figure bursting with confidence. Sarah smiled, her heart warmed by his enthusiasm. It was contagious. "Yeah, buddy. We need superpowers right now," she joked, laughter spilling over the tension that had built up inside her. She hit send on the post, watching as notifications began to ping almost instantly. "Okay. Teamwork makes the dream work. Let us spread the word." As they worked together, her phone rang. It was Tom. "Hey, I just spoke to a few businesses on Main Street. They're in. We can get more petitions at the local coffee shop if we can get a couple of volunteers out there," he said, excitement crackling through his voice. "Perfect. Let us print more flyers and hit the shops today," she replied, a rush running through her. They quickly gathered everything they needed and headed out. The buzz of the town was comforting. The crisp morning air filled with the scent of fresh coffee and baked goods enveloped her as they walked into the cafe. As they approached a window, Jake pressed his face against the glass. "Look at all the people, Mom," he beamed, pointing at a gathering of folks chatting and laughing. The sight invigorated her, igniting a sense of purpose. This place was alive. Inside, she spotted familiar faces, neighbors, friends, even distant acquaintances. As Jake whirled around, Sarah stepped forward, gathering her courage. "Excuse me, everyone," she called, her voice wavering slightly, then gaining strength. "We're collecting signatures to save our community space. It's important that we come together." The clatter of mugs and the chatter of conversation softened as heads turned in her direction. They listened as she spoke, pouring her heart into every word. "Every voice counts. If we can show the city how much we care, we can create a vibrant place for our kids and families to thrive." Tom joined her, standing firmly beside her to reinforce her message. "We've got flyers and a petition right here. Please sign. Show your support." To her amazement, people started getting up, grabbing pens. One by one they approached, signing their names and sharing encouraging words. Her heart soared as the signatures grew. Hope was blooming right before her eyes as they gathered signatures. A familiar face stepped forward. It was Mrs. Langley, the older woman who lived down the street. "I'm here for you, Sarah," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "I remember what it was like when we lost the old park. I won't let this happen again." Tears pricked at Sarah's eyes. "Thank you, Mrs. Langley. This means the world to me." Just as the atmosphere felt hopeful, a sense of unease twisted in her gut. What if this outpouring of support wasn't enough? They needed to face the hearing soon and counter the loudest voices against them. "Mom, look. We're super strong." Jake beamed, breaking her thoughts as he held up a stack of completed petitions as if they were a trophy. "I know, buddy. But we still have more work to do," she replied softly, a hint of worry in her voice. The bustle of the cafe continued, but in her heart, she felt the weight bearing down once more. They still had hurdles ahead, and the pressure was mounting as they turned to leave. A shadow crossed the threshold. Sarah's breath caught as a familiar figure stepped into view. Mark, her old high school rival and now a city council member. He wore a skeptical expression as he eyed the stack of petitions. "What is this all about?" he demanded, folding his arms across his chest. She could feel her heart race. He was known for his resolve against community projects. The breeze outside shifted, carrying whispers of uncertainty. "Mark, we're trying to save our community space," she started to explain, but he interrupted, his voice clarion and authoritative. "You really think that's what the city needs?" In that moment, Sarah stood at the edge of an uncertain precipice. With every heartbeat, the stakes rose. Would she stand her ground against Mark, a voice of opposition? Her hands trembled slightly, but her resolve hardened. "I believe in this community, and I believe in what we can accomplish together." As the door swung shut behind him, the lingering tension crackled in the air. Sarah realized they had entered a new stage of this battle. The coming days would wield unfathomable challenges, but she wasn't backing down. Standing amidst the supporters who had gathered around her, she knew now that the fight for their dreams had truly begun. Could she muster the strength to take on both the community's and her own fears? What if standing tall meant risking everything? The sun hung low in the sky as Sarah and Jake stepped out of the cafe, the weight of the moment heavy on their shoulders. The world around them buzzed with life, yet her heart felt heavy. Stepping into the realm of local politics was daunting, and facing Mark had triggered something deep inside her, a flicker of fear she thought extinguished. "Mom, did you see how many people signed?" Jake's voice broke the silence, innocent enthusiasm chasing away the shadows. "Yes, buddy, that was amazing," she replied, forcing a smile. But the truth lingered like a storm cloud. The fight wasn't over. "But we have more work to do." Jake tugged at her sleeve, his bright eyes shining with determination. "I'm ready. We can do this together." His belief pulled at her heartstrings, a reminder of why she was fighting. As they made their way down Main Street, a surge of determination flowed through her veins. Tom was waiting at the park, looking like a whirlwind of energy as he waved. "How did it go?" "It was great. People are eager to help," Sarah replied, a bit of hope sparking in her chest. But even as she shared the excitement, her mind was elsewhere. Mark's skeptical gaze haunted her. They needed to counter his ideas. If he was in opposition, others might follow. "Sarah," Tom said, pulling her back to the moment, "we need a clear plan. The hearing is in 2 days, and we can't just rely on signatures. What's our next step?" His words flooded her with reality. It was like standing on a cliff, gazing into an abyss of unknown challenges. "We need to organize a community meeting," she declared in a burst of inspiration. "Let's invite everyone who signed." "Great idea. But we should prepare for rebuttals too," he added. "Right. We'll need facts and figures to show how the parks have benefited other neighborhoods." Sarah nodded in agreement, feeling the fire of purpose spread through her. Jake, overhearing the planning, chimed in. "Can I help? I can make more signs." His enthusiasm wrapped around them like a warm blanket. With nods from both Tom and Sarah, they felt ready to tackle the monster ahead. As they set off toward home, Sarah's mind raced. With every obstacle that loomed, another part of her grew stronger. Her pulse quickened as she considered who they could reach out to for help. Local organizations, teachers, even the kids at Jake's school could rally behind them. That night, with the kitchen table strewn with flyers, Sarah busied herself organizing thoughts into a coherent strategy while Jake crafted colorful signs with paint and paper. Each stroke of the brush seemed to infuse fresh hope in the dim light of their home. Later, as she tucked Jake into bed, he yawned widely, his eyelids drooping. "We're going to make our place awesome, Mom, right?" "Absolutely," she whispered, feeling a swell of love and protective instinct. She brushed a strand of hair from his forehead, planting a soft kiss. "We're fighting for our future, for everything that makes our community special." As she stepped out of his room, Sarah paused momentarily, staring at the handmade signs lining the hallway. Tomorrow felt daunting, but she knew that fear didn't have to win. Returning to the kitchen, she gathered her phone and began drafting an invitation post to rally more support. Just as she hit send, another notification lit up the screen. It was a reminder about the city council meeting. Suddenly, a line from Mark's earlier comment echoed in her mind. Would the city really back them? She took a deep breath, steeling her resolve. They weren't just fighting for signatures anymore. They were fighting for their lives, their community, their children. Tomorrow would be pivotal. But just as she began to feel empowered, another thought pierced through her courage. What if they lost? What if all of this was for nothing? The potential weight of defeat pressed heavily against her chest as she turned off the kitchen lights, leaving the softly glowing signs behind. A mixture of hope and trepidation wrapped around her like the evening chill. Would she be able to face not just the council but her own doubts? When it mattered most, the uncertainty loomed, and with it, a part of her knew that this was only the beginning of their true fight. A fight that would test everything she believed in. The morning sun crept through the curtains, casting gentle rays across the kitchen table. For a moment Sarah lingered in the warmth, an oasis of calm before the storm. Today was the day. Her heart raced as she replayed the steps they would take, the words they might say, and the faces they might encounter. Jake bounced into the room, a whirlwind of excitement. "Mom, is it time?" He beamed, clutching a handful of colorful signs he'd created. "I can't wait." "Yes, we're almost ready." Sarah smiled, finding solace in his enthusiasm. She quickly poured a cup of coffee, needing the boost. Their plan would involve more than just a few flyers and signs. Today was about uniting the community, fueling their shared passion for the park, for the life they loved. After breakfast, they headed to the park to set up. Tom was already there, his own signs neatly arranged, echoing their cause. A small crowd began to gather, neighbors and friends drawn in by curiosity and the promise of change. Sarah felt a mixture of nerves and exhilaration. "Look at all these people," Jake whispered, eyes wide with awe. "Yeah," she said, beaming at the sight. "They're here because they care." As people began to mill about, Sarah took a deep breath, a steadying moment that allowed her to find her voice. She welcomed everyone and explained why they were gathered, how the park was a sanctuary for their families, a place of laughter and memories, and why it was at risk. "Thank you for joining us," she began, her heart pounding but passion soaring. "We need your voices, your stories. Together we can show the council how much this park means to us. It's not just about trees and grass. It's about our community, our future." Emboldened, she shared personal anecdotes and the powerful statistics she had gathered. Each fact felt like a rallying cry, a tangible representation of their shared mission. The crowd grew more animated, rallying behind her words as people began to raise their hands and share their own stories of children playing, families celebrating, and friendships blossoming in the park. But then, as the energy peaked, a familiar voice cut through the buzz. It was Mark, his posture rigid and determined, stepping forward with a look of skepticism that sent a chill through the gathering. "Sarah, these stories are all well and good, but can your little efforts really make a difference? The budget is tight and the city has bigger priorities than a park." Shockwaves rippled through the crowd. Sarah's heart sank. She had anticipated opposition, but seeing Mark there, she felt unsteady. She glanced at Jake, who was watching with wide eyes, and knew she had to stand tall. With a deep breath, she faced Mark, drawing upon the strength of those gathered. "It's our job to remind the city what is truly important," she asserted, her voice steady. "And this park matters. It gives us joy. It builds connections. If we don't fight for what we love, who will?" The murmurs around her grew louder, people nodding in agreement, rallying behind her energy. The moment felt electric, filled with shared purpose. Mark's expression flickered a hint of doubt, before he hardened again. "You'll need more than that to convince anyone. Then let us show the council who we are," Jake shouted, his small voice breaking through. "We're all in this together." An explosion of applause erupted. The power of community surged through Sarah, igniting a forgotten spark of determination. They weren't alone. Together, they would rise. When Mark stepped back, begrudgingly silenced by the sheer will of the crowd, she felt victorious if only for a moment. Yet in the back of her mind, a doubt lingered. Could they truly hold this energy long enough? As the meeting continued, an unexpected feeling of unity enveloped them. Sarah and Jake exchanged hopeful glances. But even as she basked in the kindness surrounding her, her thoughts returned to the council meeting looming ahead. Would their passion hold when faced with hardened politics? As the rally concluded, a calm washed over Sarah, but her heart raced with the weight of what lay ahead. Today was a victory, but it was only the beginning. In the distance, she spotted other members of the council strolling by, their expressions indifferent. Sarah felt a chill go down her spine. This was going to be harder than she imagined. How could she continue to inspire this crowd if the people in power remained unmoved? Tomorrow was key. Would they walk into that meeting armed with their hopes and stories ready to change everything? Or would their efforts crumble under pressure like delicate leaves in the wind? The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows over the park as the rally dispersed. Sarah felt the adrenaline start to fade, leaving an echo in her chest that felt more like doubt than victory. As she watched groups break apart, laughter fading into the background, the harsh reality of tomorrow began to loom. "Hey, Mom." Jake tugged at her sleeve, breaking her thoughts. "Do you think they'll listen?" His innocent question tugged at her heart. Was she really strong enough to protect what mattered to them? Sarah knelt beside him, searching his eyes for reassurance. How could she explain the complexity of it all? She placed a hand on his shoulder. "I believe they will. We just have to show them how much we care." "Okay," he nodded, but she could see the doubt flicker there too. Tom walked over, his brow furrowed. "You know Mark has friends in the council, right? This is going to be tougher than we thought." "Yeah, I figured," Sarah replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "But we can't back down now. If they don't see the value in this park, how will they ever understand our community?" Tom hesitated, then nodded. "We just have to rally everyone again. We need to make a strong case more than just stories." With a sigh, Sarah began packing away the signs. She wanted to believe in the power of stories, in the collective voice they had shown today. But as she folded up the colorful posters, an unsettling thought crept in. Would it really be enough? Home felt quieter that evening. The warmth of the sun had disappeared, leaving the house too dim for comfort. Jake finished his evening routine, and they sat across from each other at the table, a blanket of silence wrapping around them. "Can I help you get ready for tomorrow?" he asked. Her heart swelled. "Of course. We can draft a new speech together. Your ideas matter, Jake." He smiled, a small glimmer of excitement breaking through. "What if we made a sign that says Save Our Park? With lots of drawings? Everyone can add their names." "Now that's a great idea." Sarah felt a spark return. "Let us turn this into something they can't ignore." Together they painted and drew, laughter weaving through the night. The colors brightened the dim room, and Sarah watched Jake's confidence grow. Each stroke of the brush was a reminder of their mission, and the community waiting for them to lead the way. As they finished their artwork, the clock ticked ominously in the background, urging her thoughts back to the meeting. What if the council shot them down? What if they dismissed their efforts? Could she protect Jake from that kind of disappointment? The thought of failure turned her stomach. But then she looked at the sign they had created, a collage of hopes and dreams, and she felt that familiar spark of possibility. The people, their voices had power. She just had to harness it, to focus the energy they had built today. Jake, tired and proud, snuggled into bed, and Sarah stood beside him, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead. "I'm so grateful for you, buddy. No matter what happens tomorrow, we'll push forward together." As she closed his door, her resolve steeled. Tomorrow could be a turning point. But could she gather the strength to face the council's indifference? An unexpected knock on the door startled her. She opened it to find Tom standing there, urgency in his eyes. "Sarah, you need to see this." Her heart raced. What could have happened now? "Come quickly." With her pulse quickening and uncertainty washing over her, Sarah followed Tom. Each step echoed her mounting anxiety. They were so close, but what awaited them on the other side of that door? Would this be another obstacle, or the breakthrough they desperately needed? As they stepped outside, the chill of the looming night wrapped around them like a shroud. Tom's breath puffed in the cool air, and his eyes sparkled with fervor. "You've got to see the community board," he exclaimed, practically dragging Sarah towards the center of the park where a small crowd gathered. With every hurried step, Sarah's heart raced. Around the board, neighbors exchanged excited whispers, voices filled with anticipation. Was it another rallying cry? Another slice of unity? "Look!" someone shouted, pointing to a bright poster hanging amidst the others. Sarah squeezed through to the front, and her breath caught in her throat. A massive sign read in bold letters, "Save Our Community Park." Names filled the white spaces, hundreds of signatures shining like stars against a dark canvas. Tears pricked at Sarah's eyes. This was more than just a list. It was a testament to collective resolve. The people of Maplewood were standing together, ready to fight for their dreams. "Every signature counts," Tom said softly beside her. "This is what we need for the hearing." Jake squeezed past Sarah, clutching the colorful sign they had made together. "Look, Mom!" he cheered. "We're superheroes." Indeed they were. A wave of warmth rippled through Sarah as she felt the power of community swell around her. No longer was this just a fight for a park. It was a fight for their collective identity, for the heart of Maplewood itself, and that moment, fear slipped away. Sarah stood tall, her voice steady and clear. "This is what we can achieve when we work together. This is just the beginning." The crowd cheered, and she felt the swell of energy wash over them like a cleansing tide as they shifted their focus back on their mission. Excitement bubbled over, filling the air like fireworks. They strategized and planned, every heart beating in sync with the hope of that shared vision. Ideas sparked small community meetings to draft letters to the council, local businesses offering support, and a chance to present at the next council meeting in a week. That evening, Sarah snuggled next to Jake, his face illuminated by the light of his small bedside lamp. "You made me realize something today," she said, brushing his hair away from his forehead. "You taught me that even the smallest voice can carry a special strength. Just like in superhero movies." Jake replied, his eyes sparkling with the thrill of adventure. Over the next few days, the town buzzed with activity. Flyers filled the nearby shops, coffee-stained community tables served as brainstorming grounds, and families gathered to discuss their dreams for the park. The undercurrent of concern from Mark's earlier outburst faded, replaced by a renewed spirit. When the day of the council meeting finally arrived, Sarah felt both nerves and hope intertwining within her. Tom stood beside her, a steady hand on her shoulder. "We got this," he said, though his eyes mirrored her own uncertainties. Gathered in the town hall, the weight of countless eyes turned toward them felt heavy, yet empowering. As Mark entered, preparing to dismiss their impassioned pleas, Sarah blinked, catching the gaze of familiar faces. Friends, neighbors, and even those she called distant waved their signs and letters of support. She rose from her seat. "Thank you for being here today. My name is Sarah Strider, a mother and a member of Maplewood. Just a little while ago, this park was just a place I never dreamed it could be the heart of our community." Her voice cracked, pulsing with emotion. "But thanks to all of you, I feel change is blossoming like flowers in spring. We are not here to ask for something small. We are here to seek a future full of laughter, connection, joy, and safety for our children." Applause erupted, and even Mark stood back, his brow furrowed in surprise. As Sarah continued speaking, fueled by the energy of her supporters, their determination became contagious. "Let us come together not just to save old dreams, but to build new ones. We have the signatures, the love, the unified voices, and the passion to transform this park into a safe haven for all." With each word she could feel the resolve growing, inching toward victory. When she finished, the room buzzed with excitement and a palpable shift. Across the way, Mark took a deep breath and began to speak, revealing a flicker of respect for their efforts. "You've made compelling arguments, and I admire the community's passion." Tension floated in the air. Would it be enough? Would their unity lead to the support they desperately needed? When the meeting concluded, there was a sense of impending change. As Sarah and Jake stepped out into the sunshine, she felt a smile dance on her lips. Hand in hand with her son, surrounded by a supportive community, she realized that their dreams were much bigger than she'd ever imagined. They had ignited a fire in everyone, and together, they would continue to build and nurture it. The fear of failure no longer loomed, replaced with the power of togetherness. They were ready to take on anything the world threw their way, and every step forward was a step for the entire community. And as they walked home, Jake gazed up at her, joyful and triumphant. "We really can be superheroes, huh, Mom?" "Absolutely, kiddo," she said, her heart brimming with pride. "Together we can do anything." As that sunny day began to close, Sarah felt the echoes of hope resonate all around them. Maplewood would rise from those ashes, and it would be stronger, brighter, and more united than ever before. Now, my friends, it's time to take action. You need to subscribe to our channel immediately, so you won't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread the positivity. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. We're always looking to hear from you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this remarkable transformation. This is the moment to show your support.